out of here. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and can you believe it? The chase for the Champions League is on. I was not expecting this at all. But you know what? I'm in such a good mood this week. I'm not even going to put up the whole hashtag Blueco Maresca out and all of that stuff on my thumbnail this time. I'm actually going to make a thumbnail of me excited because this was a great game. Now, with that being said, there is still that cynical part of my brain that is going to look and see we still do have to do our jobs over the next 3 matches. Newcastle and Nottingham Forest are definitely going to be our 2 toughest of these final 4 that we had. Because looking at Liverpool real quickly, this was not the strongest side from them. You know, a lot of changes. No Gravenberch, no McAllister, no Soboslai from the start, no Salah today. What he played? I didn't see him. Even the defense is a little weak. You know, Van Dijk is still back there, but you got Kwanzaa back there, you got Tsimikas back there, you got Alexander-Arnold back there. But with that being said, even though a lot of the starters for most of the season for Liverpool were not in today, this is still going to be a tougher match because a lot of these players, they have something to play for. If he had started most of his first team, a lot of them, what do they have to play for? They've already won the league. They're basically just there to try to finish in some style maybe, but they don't really have anything to push for. A lot of the players he's playing, they're either pushing to try to get into the starting 11 for next season, or they're pushing to try to basically raise their value and maybe get a move away. I'm looking at players like Jota, like Tsimikas, Endo. I don't know if he's featured much, but I don't think he has. So quality-wise, this is a weaker Liverpool side, but effort-wise, this is not going to be as easy as it would be if we were facing their first team that have just won the league and probably don't feel like they have anything really to play for. But first, we'll look at Maresca today because even though I'm not going to put Maresca out in the thumbnail this week, I still am not convinced. First of all, the subs, in my opinion, took way too long to get out. And on top of that, the subs didn't really help us. First and foremost, taking Jackson off didn't make sense. I know logically you think it would make sense to take off your striker and put on a wing. It makes you a little less attacking. You have, in theory, more defensive help from your attackers. But that's not exactly how it goes, because Jackson, out of our attacking 4, probably works the hardest. Maybe Neto is the only one that works harder than him to get back and make challenges. So taking him off doesn't really make us more defensive. If you wanted to do that, the answer is obvious. You take off Madueke. I'm not going to criticize him too much today. I'll talk about him later. But defensively, he was awful. And that's something he's never really been good at, is tracking back, putting in challenges. He did it a couple times, but I mean, the goal comes from him for the second time, just letting Van Dijk run in with no challenge whatsoever. And he's supposed to be kind of that first block that keeps him from having a free header in the middle of the box. And 2 times he's just standing and watching as Van Dijk runs in, has a free header, second one turns into a goal. So that sub didn't help. Bringing in Gusto, don't really understand that one either. And he brings on James, so that's 3 subs out of the 5 that you can use today. Don't know why he didn't try to bring on some more fresh legs. But ultimately, Gusto just pushed Caicedo into the midfield, and he went to right back, and then James went in, and Gusto got pushed into the midfield with Caicedo. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad he didn't put James in the midfield because he's not a midfielder, and we've seen that multiple times. But Gusto's not either. I don't really understand that thought process. Like, it would actually be better, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but it would actually be better to have Dewsbury Hall go into the midfield just for some energy and some legs, and he didn't do that today, which is weird. Also, no George, which I really didn't understand because he's somebody who brings a lot of energy up top. So Maresca still has his issues, but today a lot of what he was trying to do looks like it came off well. You know, he went in with basically the same lineup that did against Everton. And honestly, I thought it worked better today than it did against Everton. And I don't know if some of that is just having a game under their belts. Now Lavia looks more comfortable in there. Caicedo looks a bit more comfortable at right back. Even though he has played there before, he's not done it in a while. So it's new for both of them. But whatever the case, this system worked a lot better today. We looked like we were in control. It wasn't until the second half when some of the subs were made that I felt like Liverpool actually started to take some control of the game. And ironically enough, it was when Alexander-Arnold went off that suddenly they looked a lot more dangerous. So kind of goes to show that maybe him leaving is not the worst thing in the world for them. But quickly running through all the individuals. First of all, Sanchez in goal. Once again, not bad. He did have a few more passes today that went awry. There were a couple times where going long, it felt like he was actually trying to place the pass and it wasn't coming off. I think it's just better whenever he looks to get it out and get it long. Like whenever he's trying to find a player with his feet, that's where I'm concerned. And especially against a team like Liverpool that does tend to put some high press on, I was really concerned about what was going to happen today. But only, I think, like 2 or 3 dangerous maybe only 2 dangerous giveaways, but he also made a couple of good saves as well, very commanding in the box today. Again, he's fine when he's not being forced to have to pass out from the back. That's not his game. He is a keeper first and foremost. Caicedo on the right back, like I already said, he looked more comfortable there today. Defensively looked really, really good, won the ball back several times, did a good job of shutting down, I think it was Gakpo was mostly coming down the left side, and he did a really good job of keeping him quiet. So all in all, it was a very good game, and even better whenever he stepped in the midfield, started winning the ball and taking it down the pitch real fast, starting a lot of our breaks, wins the penalty that gets Palmer his first goal in however many games. So for me, Caicedo is easily player of the season for us, by far. He has been the most consistent player. He has done everything he's been asked to. I can only think of a couple games where he wasn't quite as good, but he didn't have any bad games this season from what I can remember. So I know it may seem a bit premature to give out awards right now, but Caicedo for me, player of the season. No competition whatsoever. Chalobah and Colwill actually both decent today. Chalobah I thought had the better game because he made a few more clutch tackles for us in the back. Colwill just did his job well. He didn't make any defensive errors, no lapses of concentration from them today. They both held the grounds well, made good tackles, kept Jota and then Nunez quiet, so no real issues there. Cucurella did fine, kept Salah quiet pretty much the entire match. No real complaints there. Still think it's weird that for whatever reason Maresca's keeping him further back in the past set of matches, even though he looks so dangerous going forward for several matches. But at least our attack is coming along and scoring goals of their own, so we don't have to rely on him anymore. But it still is just weird that you've got a player who is doing so well at getting in the box, finishing chances, and then you just say, hey, stop doing that. Stay back. I don't get it. Moving on to Lavia, because apparently I had the most controversial opinion about him last week because everybody else said he had a great game against Everton, and I didn't see it. And the thing is, when I was watching some other people talk about Lavia, a lot of their praise for him came from what he did on the ball. Breaking through the lines, good passes, and he does that well. He's a good player in possession, but when you're playing as the holding mid, you've got to do both sides of the ball well. And I thought against Everton, defensively, he looked weak. Looked like he couldn't keep up with some of the players in there. So I was really worried coming into today that he was going to be back there again. But to be perfectly honest, I thought he handled it fine. Can't really remember any issues. Nothing like what I saw from him in the Everton match. There were no moments where he was kind of looking a little scared to go into 50-50 challenges. It looked like he wasn't keeping up with players. All in all, he had a great performance today. So this was the week, in my opinion, that I'm excited to have Lavia back in there, even if it's only going to be for maybe 3 matches. Again, I don't know what I missed against Everton, but watching him this week, this is the type of player that I'm expecting everybody to talk about. And then Fernandez obviously gets himself a goal and looked okay overall. Couple of moments where defensively he needs to be a little bit better because I know he's not the most offensive player, but you should still be able to read the game well enough to know when to step in and when to not. And there were a couple of moments where it was a little too easy for Liverpool to get through our midfield because Lavia stepped up to one guy and is blocking off that pass. And Fernandez, all he has to do is just force the guy backwards, and instead he tries to step in and win it and gets turned. And it happened a few times and allowed Liverpool to kind of get at us, especially in the second half too, when they were starting to go through the gears a little bit, started to make their changes. And again, I know that's not what he's there to do, but I still expect him to do it well enough. Just don't get beat, basically. Don't make a mistake that allows them to get past you. And I felt like today, unfortunately, he let that happen a couple times. Into the front four, Neto, I thought played pretty well. Definitely had the beating of Tsimikas. I mean, I can think of one time that Tsimikas got the better of him. Every other time, Neto easily ran past him. No trouble at all. So I know he got the assist for Fernandez's goal. It's a shame, though, that he didn't get another assist because there were several moments when he did a great job of getting down the line, had a nice little cutback, and just nothing really came of it. But this is definitely the type of Neto performance that I expect to see more of. His ability to run at defenders and get past them and use his speed to get into dangerous areas and then cut it back across. He's really, really good at doing that. I want to see more of this. I want to see more of this Neto. Madueke on the left, outside of his defensive work rate, I didn't really have any issues with him today. There were a couple of times that he was dwelling on the ball a bit too long, but I mean, I'm used to that. I think for me today, the reason why I was not as upset with him is, first of all, we were already in the lead. So dwelling on the ball a bit too long, him not finding that pass, it's still frustrating, but it's not as frustrating if we're not searching for the winning goal. But he did have some good runs on the ball. He did have some good moments, got into some dangerous areas, had some decent chances. It's still not the type of player that I want to see at Chelsea. It's still not the type of performance that I think helps the team overall, but I'm definitely a lot more forgiving whenever he's doing this when we're a goal up instead of it's 0-0 or it's 1-0 and we're searching for a goal and he's just wasting chance after chance. And then you got Palmer in the middle. Obviously, the penalty is such a relief. It was so nerve-wracking. Even though if he misses it, we still win. There was no time for Liverpool to go on another attack after. But for his confidence and for what it means to him to get that first goal in so long, oh, it was such a relief. I was so nervous for him, and it was so nice to just see it hit the back of the net, see the celebration. I couldn't really tell what he was saying at the end of the match. He and Madueke were engaged in a long conversation, and he didn't seem too happy. So I don't know what was going on there. I'm sure there are going to be tons of articles about what could he possibly not be happy about. But at the very least, just getting that goal, it's such a relief. I'm hoping it opens the floodgates. In the next couple of matches, he'll start banging them in more regularly because we're going to need that over the next set of matches. But his overall play today outside of the goal, it was good. You know, he's creating good chances. He's making good passes. A couple of moments when he's still doing the overthinking thing that we've seen over the stretch of barren games for him. But I think the creative spark is still there. Even when he's not at his best, he still has those moments that show the quality that he possesses. And having that type of player is so invaluable. And then Jackson up top obviously didn't get himself a goal today and was definitely frustrated with being subbed. And honestly, I was kind of frustrated for him as well. Because even though he wasn't scoring, he still was doing so much to help the team. You know, there were several moments whenever he's putting in a good challenge, he's battling against Van Dijk and Kwanzaa, he's giving them trouble, and he's working back too to try to get on the ball. He's doing everything he can to help the team, and then you're just going to sub him off, even though you've got somebody out there who is just kind of trotting around whenever we don't have possession. Like, it is frustrating, and I'm sure people are going to get upset because he had a couple of chances. Maybe he could have done a bit better. His runs, maybe he could have timed a bit better. There were a couple, though, where it's not really on him. You know, he makes the run well, but there was one, Madueke, all he has to do is turn, send him in behind, but he has no idea where Jackson is. So he turns, takes a touch, and now Jackson's offside, even though the pass would have been there if Madueke had been aware of what's going on. So sometimes it is his run, sometimes he's not fully aware of where the line is and how he should position himself. But there are some times whenever he times his run really well, if the player on the ball can get it out from under his feet or just get it into him a bit quicker, we don't have to worry about him being offside. So I'm sure some people will complain about that. For me personally, though, once again, appreciate his work rate. Appreciate everything he brings to the team, even if it doesn't make him look the best at times whenever the quality is a bit lacking. As far as the subs that came on, first of all, Sancho, thought did okay. You know, he's still showing some of that creativity that he's got. I still don't understand why he's not starting. As much as I didn't have an issue with Madueke today, I still think Sancho brings a bit more on the ball these days. You know, he's creating, he's opening up chances for other people. He's actually working back and tracking runs pretty well. He's not the best defensively, but he's still doing pretty well right now. So I don't understand that choice, but I don't know. It seems Maresca, ever since he started scoring and assisting, Maresca just has no trust in him anymore. Can't explain it. Gusto and James kind of in the same boat where they both came on and it felt like just having the fresh legs sort of helped the team. Gusto, still have my issues with him. He's still not playing up to his potential that we saw from last season. But today was a bit better on the ball. He looked a little bit more comfortable. Still lost it in a couple of dangerous areas that were frustrating. But I think it's a step in the right direction. He won a couple of challenges. He won a couple of fouls for us. So there were moments that were good from him today. And I'm hoping if he is going to start featuring more, I'm hoping he can take those couple of moments and start turning them into even more production, even more positivity in his play, because most of the season has just not been good enough. And then James came on pretty late, so didn't have a whole lot of time to get into the game, but thought he did okay. A couple of moments where, once again, a little too slow in possession. Again, that high press from Liverpool can be nerve-wracking, but I thought he did okay. It was nice to have a bit more of a calm presence back there, I suppose. But ultimately, it's a win. It puts us comfortably in 5th place, obviously, until Forest play tomorrow, and come on, Palace. But I think the biggest thing this does is it just gives us that momentum. We just needed this run of games where, you beat Fulham and then you beat Everton and now you beat Liverpool. That's 3 wins in a row. That's 3 wins against teams that you've kind of struggled with in the past. Fulham beat you earlier this season at home. Everton, you couldn't get a win on their ground, and that started our fall from grace earlier this season. Liverpool, we've not beaten them, and I think that they said the past 10 matches, 3 big wins, and now you've got Newcastle away. That's going to be tough. Man U at home. Shouldn't be tough, but for some reason, Man U always turns up against us. I don't know why. And then obviously Forest away on the final day. I mean, these are 3 big matches. This was the first win we needed, to give us the momentum and the confidence to go into those matches. And I think a lot of it could be wrong, could be a little too critical here. But my opinion, one of the things that has helped, and it started with Fulham, is players willing to break out of the system that Maresca has implanted for the second half of the season. This slow, boring build-up play, the safe pass it back whenever you come under pressure, that type of play that we've seen for a majority of the second half of the season, it kind of feels like the chains have been unshackled a little bit. And I don't know if that's Maresca. I don't know if he finally said, you know what, maybe my way isn't working. Go out there and play how you know how to play. I don't know if that's what's going on. Because again, with Sanchez, I think he's the best example of, he goes long in that Ipswich match, we get scored on, Maresca comes out criticizing him, criticizing the fans, saying that that's not what we're supposed to do. And then in these next 3 matches, he's been willing to go long with it, and we've been winning. So I don't know if that's Maresca going, you know what, maybe we should look to change it up, or if that's the player just saying, you know what, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Let's just go out there and play. Let's just go out there. The creative players, it feels like they are much more willing to run at players, to try to open up space, to do something on the ball. It's so much more fun to watch. Even though Everton was still a little bit dull at times, this match was just phenomenal, except for like 15 minutes in the second half, whenever they made their changes and they started to come at us a bit more. I attribute to probably fresh legs for them and our legs maybe dropping off a little bit. But once we started to get that foothold, once we got that second goal, it was back to what we got for most of the game. That exciting end-to-end, get it down the pitch quickly, look to get it in behind. And granted, most teams don't allow us to do that. It just looked like we had a lot more of a drive to go forward, a lot more of a desire to just get the ball down the field as quickly as we could and try to put it in the back of the net. And that's not something we've seen for a majority of the second half of the season. So if we can keep playing like this, I give us a decent chance. You know, Newcastle and Forest, even though they are going to be our tougher matches out of the 3 that we have left, they're not invulnerable. You know, Forest are dropping off right now, and then Newcastle today couldn't get the job done against Brighton, who's not been that good. These are 2 matches that, yes, they're going to be tough, but they're not impossible. And if we can go out there and play like we did today, I'd give us a decent chance, because we have a good enough team to do it. We just have to get over the line. We just have to find this fire that we saw today and keep going with it. So with all that being said, those are my thoughts on the game today. First time I've actually been able to have a positive review in a while. It feels so good. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts? Let me know what we could talk about and discuss, all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe, future Chelsea reviews. Also check out the channel. We have a lot of other reviews on here as well, some Let's Plays, so check those out if you have time. But until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. I will talk to you all later. Peace out.